Hello, I'm Heinz Winckler. I'm a singer, songwriter, music producer, and do a few other things that I enjoy doing. My professional music career started back in 2002 when I won the first South African Idols competition. And since then, I have done about seven studio albums, two live DVDs, and by the grace of God, I'm able to say that I've had some uh, platinum sales, gold sales. I've been nominated for a few SAMAs. I've won some Afrikaans music awards, and I've been nominated for a few others as well. And I've had the privilege of doing a song for a Disney movie called Treasure Planet. I've been able to do World Idol, where I came fourth out of 11 people from around the world. And I've done a musical in the States for 9 months called Rent, traveled the world when doing that, which was great. Um, done some TV work here locally. I've been in a few movies. So there's a couple of things that I've been privileged to do because of the open door that I got. The reason that back in the day when I entered Idols, the reason I entered Idols was because by that time, even though I was studying law at Stellenbosch University, I had developed quite a bit in my music, and I was dreaming of the idea. By the end of 2001, I was dreaming of the idea of making music for a living. And when the opportunity of Idols came around, I thought this is a way to do that. People often ask me afterwards, why did you enter Idols to become famous? And I said, no, I didn't enter it to become famous. I entered it because I really wanted to get a record deal, because you need a record deal to, make music professionally. And by the grace of God, that is what happened. And since then, that has been mainly what I've done with my career and with my life. So, I've been asked to tell you what are the five main things that I wish I knew when I did my first album. And so, obviously, with my story, things were a bit different. Before I entered that show and started my professional music career, I was very much in an amateur space in Stellenbosch. My experience was leading worship at my local church and also being in a two-man band with a friend of mine when we just did covers, some of our own stuff, but mostly covers around campus. So that was kind of my experience. And it was only later that I in doing that I got a few opportunities to get paid, but it was not real money. Then this whole idol thing happened, and what normally would take years to establish, build an audience, all that kind of stuff, happened quite quickly in my case. So what normally would happen with an artist is that they gig a lot over a long period of time. They do their 10,000 hours, if you've heard of that, and they start building up an audience. That audience starts becoming loyal, starts coming to their shows, they start being willing to pay a certain amount for a ticket, and then there's income, then there's a request for music and then more music, and that's kind of how most artists grow into being household names. But in my case, that happened in a way overnight, just within a few months, and it had some great uh, positive. It had some great pros, but also some cons to it, and some of them were difficult to handle at the time. And I'll give you a few of those, and then I'll get into the five things I wish I knew. So, getting into the music business after that, there were a few things that I assumed because I grew up quite sheltered and I wasn't very street smart at all, and also haven't really been out in the world. My parents are great people. I love them, but they really protected me. So getting out into the real world in the music business was quite a shell shock moment for me. And I think the big thing that hit me first was that I thought all adults were like my parents. I could trust them. Whatever they say, they will do. And I quickly realized that that is not the case. In my first year of doing shows, I probably lost close to 100,000 Rand in people that said they will pay me but never paid me. And only then that I implement some systems into getting deposits, getting fully paid before I get into the car or the plane to go to the show, stuff like that. That was a hard lesson to learn. Also, believe it or not, in 2002, there was nothing like social media. Can you imagine a world with no social media? Kind of crazy, right? That's the world that I started my music career in. And I was gigging all over the place. I had shows all over the country because of the hype and everything. And while I was in the show, they had people that were paid to publicize everything I'm doing and everything that we're doing as the top 10. But when the show ended, all of that ended. So there was no active publicity happening for me unless I was generating it myself. And it was very expensive to do that. So I didn't do it at the time. I just did the gigs and did some, news magazine, TV shows where I could and where I was invited. But what started happening was that the media started saying, where's Heinz? He's not using his opportunity. But I'm gigging all over the place. So that was very frustrating. And a year in of that whole experience, I was quite down, depressed, worried, and actually ready to give up. And it took quite a bit for me to realize that I can't let that stuff define me. I need to, in my case, as a Christian, I prayed and I felt God give me advice on what to do, and shortly after that, my whole career went into a great new level, and had some of the biggest success I've ever had in my career. So that, from my side, that's what happened for me, and I'm very grateful to God for that and the great people around me. The other thing that I realized is that just because people voted for you on a TV show doesn't mean they're going to get into their cars, buy tickets, and come to your show. And then if you are in the music industry, you'll know that your bread and butter is actually live shows. You don't make so much money out of. Back then, we still sold CDs, but now that's not even there. And even when selling CDs, it wasn't my main source of income. The main source of income was doing gigs. So then I realized just because people voted for you doesn't mean they're going to, go through all the discomfort of going to a show, hoping that you can do a proper gig. So I had to still grow my audience, still develop a trust with them so that they know that what I'm offering is good and decent, and that they will want to come back for more. And in the process, I'm learning, of course, as well, how to do an hour and a half event show, corporate gig, whatever it might be. So all of that stuff was massive learning curves for me. So, a bit more practical now. The 5 things I wish I knew before recording my first album. So this is now a little bit more specific about the album recording process. Now, the first thing that comes up here for me is the lack of confidence that I had about writing songs. Now, just practically speaking, if you are making an album, you need to know that there are different sources of income linked to that album. Now, obviously, over the years, that has changed a lot, and now it's very different from what it used to be. But in essence, you can still, you have the best chance of getting a good earning from a song if the more involved you are in the song, the more you can get out of the song. So if you wrote it or co-wrote it, you get a royalty from airplay and from sales and from streaming and all that kind of stuff. If you're only the artist performing the song, then your royalty is limited to the artist royalties that are linked to that song. So it's always better to be more involved than less involved, if you can. I know not all singers necessarily can write great songs, and I felt like one of those. I felt like I can't do it. I'm not equipped. I'm not talented enough. But through experience and through spending time with other people, I eventually realized that writing a song is actually not that difficult. Writing a great song that's a hit, yes, that is definitely more difficult. But the biggest breakthrough for me came when I realized it's not that difficult to write a song, because a song is words with a melody on top of it. So you can write a song about anything and it'll be a song. For me, that was the great big first step to realize. And then I realized I need to take the pressure off of myself to write a hit every time I write. Obviously, there's intentionality to do that is a good thing. But also, if you try to do that, it kind of kills creativity and all that kind of stuff. Plus, the other problem is we compare ourselves, and that's one of the things that I did. I compared myself to other writers, thinking I'm not as good as, and complete the sentence. And then I would disqualify myself. And in that way, I wasn't as involved in my first and second album as I think I would have liked to have been or could have been if I just had a bit more belief in myself and had better guidance in doing that. So that will be my first tip, is to not sell yourself short on the creative side in creating the content that's on your own album. And if you are, and if you feel that that's not a strong point, then spend time with great songwriters that you know. Ask them, listen, can I get some tips? Can I spend some time with you? I felt that doing co-writing initially was a good place to start and get to the place where I could confidently sit down and write songs on my own. And then you also need to know that it's a process. And just like gigging live and the 10,000 hours thing that I mentioned earlier, songwriting is like a muscle. The more you're going to exercise that muscle, the stronger it will get. But with like any talent, I believe all of us, if we have a talent, we received it to some degree. So if getting a talent that is the best and just you're such a natural, everything just comes to you. You don't even have to think about it, like you're a 10. And then lower than that is degrees of the strength of the gift. So I feel like I maybe got a 7 or an 8 with singing, but more like a 2 or a 3 with songwriting. So I just had to work that muscle harder to bring it up so that it can be better. And the more I write, the better I got. Maybe you write 5 okay songs and then you write a good song. Then you write 5 good songs and then you write a great song, and so forth. So I just want to encourage you to choose to be involved in the songwriting as much as you can. And if you really can't, seek help and start growing in that. Okay, second one. Do not compare yourself with other successful artists and try to be like them. Let it inspire, but know that you are unique and you need to bring your own uniqueness to the game. There's no one like you. There's no one like you. And the thing that works in the music industry, for the most part, is being unique and authentic and real. So the best thing that you can do is, when you look at other artists, do not compare in the sense of I want to be like them. Rather go, wow, that's amazing what they achieved. Look at how unique they are. Let me try and find my uniqueness and bring that to the forefront in the best way possible, and then package it as in an artist name and a brand and an image that's connected to my music. I always tell people, the moment or the thing that you can strive for to be famous in people's minds, and I'm only saying famous not to chase fame, but to chase a form of success in the music industry, is where I believe people can, without even thinking about it, they can make a connection between your name, your face, and your song or songs. In other words, if your song plays on the radio, they immediately know what your name is and what you look like. If they see a photo of you in a magazine, they immediately know what your name is and what song they know about you. And if they read your name, they know what you look like and what song you sing. You get what I'm saying? So that's kind of something to strive for, is to get to that place. Always know that your name, what you look like, and your song, if you can get those 3 things to come together in the minds of your audience, then you've achieved something quite amazing. But it starts with knowing that you need to be yourself. You need to be unique. Now, maybe you look at yourself and go, I'm a little boring. I'm not, maybe I'm not that exciting. Maybe I'm an introvert, whatever. Then, if you really are serious about being called into the music industry, now that is a big question as well. Not all of us are necessarily called to make this a career. Maybe you just have this as a hobby on the side. But if you are called to do this as a job, I'm going to earn money and pay my bills, then you have to take this seriously and say, okay, so I have a few shortcomings, but I have a few strengths. How can I make my strengths into a package that will sell? How can I take that, what I feel is inside of me, the song, the message, the way I want to do it, and make it so that it's going to be something that will work commercially? That is the big question. And that is a journey. It may not happen on the first album, may not happen on the second album, but as you find your feet and your sound and your look and your feel, you will grow into that. Thirdly, if you find a producer that you work with well, you've got a great synergy, you create great content, and the album that you work on or the song that you work on with that producer works in the market. There's success, there's people like it, it gets played, whatever the case might be. Remember that that is not something to take lightly. I have done this. I had a very successful second album, did very well, and I thought that from that, the work on the album and the experience that I've built up in the music industry, I thought that I now know how things work. I know how to do things. So I decided with my third album to go in a completely different direction and take more control over the creative process, the production process. And that album was a complete commercial failure. So just take a note there, a cautionary tale. If you find someone that you work with well and you create great content, do not throw that away. Stick with it. Yes, on the album after that, you're not going to do exactly the same thing. You're going to reinvent a little. You're going to get creative. But if you have something that works, don't throw it away. The fourth one, when writing and producing, do not only think about radio and the song on the album. Keep in mind that you're going to do the song live for an audience, and it needs to work live. Many of the tracks that we did, especially on my first three albums, was great for studio. It was great to listen in the car, great on the radio. But when I did it live, I realized sometimes, this track doesn't have as much energy as I think it should have for live. It doesn't. Maybe the intro, there's no lead up to the intro, or the song starts immediately. So now when you go live, you have to create a whole other version of the song so it works. There's all those things to consider. And I think because we actually make our living out of live performances, we should strongly consider how this track will work live, as well as it'll work well for radio and someone listening it on their phone. So that's a thing that for me is very important to keep in mind. And then the fifth one, I believe this is a very important thing for the music industry as a whole. The people that I keep seeing doing good work over and over again, that get booked, that get used, that are called back to do gigs or corporate work or whatever, or get called back into a label, whatever the case might be, are people that are humble, that are hard workers, and that are teachable. And those are you need to be that person. For you to have success in the music industry, you have to know humility and teachability and a hard work ethic are your best attributes that you can have to make a success of your music career. And then try to find people that are like that to work with you. It doesn't help that you have a diva in your band or a producer that tries to overshadow you. You want to work with people that are also humble, teachable, and hardworking, because then you can create something truly amazing that will speak into people's lives, bless them, strengthen them, encourage them, bring hope, entertain them, make them laugh. Whatever field you fall in, you can do that more effectively when it comes from a humble place of being teachable, wanting to know more, grow more, be better, and working hard to achieve that. I hope that helped you. Thank you for listening. May God bless you, and may you have a very successful music career.